Good morning, guys. Thank you for attending this panel. We're going to be talking about all things media and communication in professional football, in particular in the Premier League and in European competition as well. My name's Ian Taylor. I'm the former head of communications at West Ham, at QPR, and in professional cycling with Team Ineos. And I'm now a consultant under the guise of Taylor's Sports Communications. I'm joined today by three like-minded people from the comms industry. Emily Defron, the former colleague of mine at West Ham United, who oversees the player media operation at the Hammers, world-renowned Sky Sports presenter Dharmesh Sheth, and Carlos Vicente, Managing Director of Empower Sports, a leading sports communication agency. Guys, thank you for being here. Before we get on to talking about communication in professional football, Emily, do you just want to start by giving a snapshot, a bit of an overview of how you got into the industry and your role now at West Ham?
Yeah, first and foremost, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As a snapshot of my role as football communications lead at West Ham United, I lead on all of the contractual media, whether that be player or manager media within the Premier League, also across our women's team in the Women's Super League, which is obviously a fast-growing league in the UK at the moment. What that looks like, obviously the broadcasting deal in the Premier League is pretty mega, and the contractual element that we have to deliver ahead of every Premier League game is pretty full on in the build up to a game. So the media that we have to deliver, my job is obviously making sure that we adhere to all of the contractual obligations that come with that.
And Carlos, do you want to give a brief overview?
Sure, buongiorno a tutti, good morning everyone. I'm the Managing Director of Empower Sports, a global PR and communications agency. Before I used to work as an international communications manager for Manchester City FC, doing some of the tasks that Emily mentioned. And now in this new project, I'm trying to use that experience to support organizations across the football industry. At Empower Sports, we work with clubs, with leagues, with athletes, with sports companies in general, and trying to support their international expansion, trying to grow in different markets, and overall try to drive growth in several areas using strategic communications.
Great, thank you, Carlos. And Dharmesh, do you want to give us an overview of your role at Sky Sports News?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I joined Sky Sports News when Sky Sports News actually started in 1998. I was a sub-editor, which basically meant I just wrote what the presenters were reading, but with an eye on wanting to be the reporter or the presenter. 3 years later, I got a reporter's job. I've been reporting since '01, and in the last 7 or 8 years, I've been presenting as well. So it involves, on the reporting side, being out on the road, interviewing managers, players, doing live reporting, trying to use your contacts to get stories, and then the presenting side is what you see anyway, just behind the desk, reading the bulletins, reading the news on Sky Sports News.
I think everybody in this room will acknowledge that the world of football media is an ever-changing world that we're in, and it provides opportunities, but there's also a number of challenges that come with that, and we'll get into that into a little bit more detail in terms of how the industry has evolved. But Emily, as the youngest member of the panel, no offence to you two, the change might not be as obvious to you, given you haven't been in the industry as long as the other guys, but talk to us a little about how the landscape of media departments at club level have changed, and how in-house media departments have changed in terms of the scope and responsibility of people like you.
Yeah, sure. So I joined West Ham just over 4.5 years ago, so this is my 5th season. But prior to that, I played hockey for Great Britain, and that was an Olympic sport. So the comparison that I had coming into my role at West Ham was the comparison between Olympic sports and the football world. And I think it's safe to say football is a completely different beast when it comes to the media landscape. For Olympic sports, speaking specifically with hockey, the media element was kind of peaked and troughed throughout the Olympic cycle. So as the major competitions came to fruition, whether that be Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, Europe.
Cover your interest, in our case, perhaps deliver interviews or have some exclusive content. So you know, the broadcaster or the proper fans can benefit from it.
Just very quickly, just on the flip side, from my perspective as well, sometimes it helps when the communication team that you speak to has got a journalistic background as well, because as much as their interest is with the club, if you are coming to them with a story, it's not in their interest to lie to you, because they know that they, as much as we want to maintain a relationship with them, they know that they want to maintain that relationship with us. And there might be a conversation you have with them about how we report the story, but if the story is essentially true, they're never going to say, you can't run it, or please don't run it. They might urge you to run it in a certain way, and then you'd have that conversation with them. But then again, like I mentioned before, it's all to do with the relationship.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about transfers. It's been mentioned a couple of times already on this panel. It's obviously, everybody knows, 2 transfer windows, the summer and the January transfer window, and Dharmesh in particular, Emily as well. Yeah, they're really busy times, aren't they, for broadcasters and for clubs. Dharmesh, you're right at the centre of transfers in your role at Sky. Talk to us about, and you've already touched upon, the importance of a little black book, a contacts book. But talk to us about how you've worked your way up from where you were 20 years ago to now being the go-to guy in the UK at Sky on transfers. How has that evolved?
So when I got the reporter's job in 01, I remember this so well. I was about 2 or 3 weeks into my job. I was in the office and my boss walked past me. And when my boss he's not my boss anymore. He started Sky Sports News, but he was almost like a Fergie character. So like if you wanted to do well because you wanted to please and make sure you got good feedback from him. But so he walked past and I just like kept my head down. And then I saw him stop. I'm like, oh no. Then he turned round, came back and he goes, what's your contacts book like? And I go, oh, what's that? He goes, right, every shoot you go on, every person you meet, every event you go to, I want you to come back with a number. So I was like, right, okay, it's an obvious thing to say, because you go to all these networking events now, but back in those days, those events really weren't around. So I remember one time where this really bore fruit was I was on my way into the office and I got a call from the desk and said, look, don't come to the office, go to this hotel in Edgware Road. There's an interview with Jermaine Easter. I don't know if any of you know who Jermaine Easter is. He played predominantly in the lower leagues. He was he was in the 3rd tier of English football at the time. And it was this plush hotel that I went to. So I went there and he had an agent with him. I'm like, it's League One football, he's got an agent. I said, right, fine. So I did the interview and I was just desperately waiting for the agent to go to move away so I could get Jermaine Easter's number, because I had the words of my boss ringing in my ears, you've got to get a number. So as the agent went to take a phone call, I said, Jermaine, do you mind if I get your... And just before I could say his number, the agent came back and says, no, you deal with me. I was like, great. So I took the agent's number thinking, I'm never going to need this. This was in 01 probably, a bit later. And I still talk to that agent now. He did the deal that took Kolo Touré to City from Arsenal, Rudiger from Chelsea to Real Madrid, and more recently he was involved in Johan Wissa from Brentford to Newcastle in the summer. And it was only because my boss had said...
Good job you got his number, wasn't it?
Exactly, because you just don't know when you're going to need a certain number. There's so many numbers in my phone that I've not used before. And then someone will say, have you got a number for... And I look at my phone, God, I have actually.
Yeah.
And then you just don't know when you're going to need it. Yeah. So it was the best piece of advice that I was given. And whenever I go to, like, if I speak to careers events and stuff, that's the one thing I always say.
Emily, as we know, transfers in club football, there's so much hype around it all, isn't there? So much sensationalism. But there's also really important pieces of content that have to be shot when you are bringing a new sign into the football club. Talk us through some of your experience, because there's been a few when it comes to transfer windows.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time, but also at the same time very stressful, very chaotic. But I mean, I can think of numerous examples where, we've had players, for example, Mohamed Kudus joined us a few years back on bank holiday. It was a bank holiday in August, and for us, obviously, coming, a club so proud of our East London diverse roots, and bringing in a player from Ghana who had so much potential, so much talent. His exposure to kind of the game at such a young age was pretty impressive already, but the opportunity for us to grow our fan base in Ghana with one signing, I don't think I quite appreciated it until he was through the door. So he came in as part of the signing announcement. We used a West Ham fan, a guy called Governor B, who's a well-known songwriter, rapper in the UK. And we used Governor B as part of the signing announcement because he had Ghanaian roots, and the whole content that was produced as part of the announcement of Mo Kudus was around his kind of heritage and Ghana coming into East London, and the power of that. I mean, he was with us for a couple of years, but the club's fan base in Ghana in particular, from one signing, probably just grew exponentially. And I think when I look back at kind of the other signings that we've had transfer deadline day signings. Last season we had a guy called Evan Ferguson that some of you might be familiar with, who's currently playing in Serie A. He came in on transfer deadline day, and the knack of that one was the fact that we had a Premier League game against Chelsea that evening. So, we had to manage bringing in a star new striker on the same day as the team were preparing for a Premier League match day, and trying not to, distract too much from the team's preparation, but also at the same time manage the excitement of bringing in a new player. And then just more recently as well, we've had a couple over the summer transfer window when we had a goalkeeper, Mads Hermansen, come in from Leicester City, and he joined on a match day in pre-season. So that was another whole challenge where we had a home match day at London Stadium that day. What can we do with announcing a new signing on the same day as we had 62,500 fans at London Stadium for a match day? So we used him as part of the pre-match activations. We used him at half-time, trying to really take that new signing announcement to a whole different level. And I think that's the beauty of the transfer window. It's exciting, but every new signing provides a completely unique opportunity for a club to take advantage of, with the content that they produce, the way that they announce it. And I think that's what I love so much about bringing in new signings in particular.
Just very quickly, how big a challenge is it for communication teams, particularly now because transfers aren't a surprise anymore? They would love, I'm sure, clubs to be the first to announce a signing, as in when no one else knows. It very rarely happens. No. Is that why clubs are now going to town on player announcements, even though everyone knows, for example, Kudus was joining, but you wanted to go?
Yeah, absolutely, spot on. And kind of further to the discussion earlier around building those relationships with journalists, building those relationships with players' agents, players' media teams. It's so important to ensure that even if in this day and age where social media is a completely different beast in terms of, there's no real announcement that isn't leaked on social media before a club announces it. And that poses the challenge, I guess, but it's kind of making sure that when the club are in a position to announce a new signing, that whether that's with the content that you produce, you go above and beyond, or whether it's the way that you announce it in terms of, I'm probably speaking on behalf of Ian here, but we announced Lucas Paqueta, for example, at the top of London Stadium, and highlighting our stadium in the heart of East London as part of a signing announcement that was probably already leaked prior to that. And I think it's the club taking advantage as much as we can within our power to control that narrative.
Exactly, that's exactly it, isn't it? It's trying to control that narrative to appeal to your fan base. It's been great, guys. Thank you for all your input, and I'm sure the audience have enjoyed it. But just in terms of what's next, what we've spoken about how the game has grown over your respective time in the industry, but with every broadcast cycle comes increased media opportunities, challenges, excitement for the sport. What's next? What's the next big thing? Is it AI? What is it, Carlos, that you think is going to cause us headaches, give us fun moments as well?
definitely AI is going to have an impact in our jobs and the way we consume football. From broadcasting perspective, competition perspective, I'm seeing an increasing growth of social media platforms because they change the way people consume football. It's not just a match, it's about short-term videos of highlights, etc. So one of my question is, would they be treated, those social media platforms, eventually as broadcasters, for instance? That's a very good one. And the other one is like the impact of influencers and content creators, because now they are also a central actor in the football ecosystem as well. And I don't know if they are journalists, are they entertainers, are they a new category whatsoever? But the thing is, they share the same press room with the traditional media, and the clubs love them because they can reach audiences that they care about. So they are an important actor that is definitely going to have an impact in the future. So those two things, those two trends, for sure, are going to impact our jobs in the future.
I think AI is really, really significant, actually, because I'm very interested to see how that can impact. I was watching Roberto Mancini yesterday, he was asked that question, and I think everyone within football, particularly managers who have been asked the question about what the impact AI will have, they are, yes, it can help, but you don't get that human interaction yet, that there's still space for both, and to be able to augment what you're doing with AI.
I think
Emily, one final point.
just to jump in, I think from my particular opinion on it, I think the Section K Premier League media obligations that we have to deliver, you're seeing a slight shift in it this season in terms of access that we have to deliver. And a lot of the stuff that we're having to deliver, whether it be in-game interviews with a manager or a coach or a player that's just been substituted, a half-time interview with a manager coming out of the tunnel after a half-time interview, the level of access that they're getting through dressing room filming or other elements like that on a match day, I think you're kind of seeing a shift in terms of, for the fans, the coverage and the content that's being produced kind of aligning more so with what we're seeing with American sports at the moment, and trying to grow football as a sport in terms of the entertainment element of it all. I think you're seeing that a little bit more so than we've ever had before, and whether that will kind of impact what that media coverage will look like moving forwards, I'd question whether that's going to happen or not, but I think it probably will go in one direction.
Great. Listen, guys, thank you very much for joining us. The four of us are going to be about for most of the day, so we're out of time, but if you've got any further questions, just come and grab us. But thank you very much.